Investors clearly are a little concerned that perhaps Slack isn't going to benefit as much as they thought, and certainly there are high expectations. What happened here?
Well, I wouldn't want to speculate as to what investors are thinking, but I'll point out that the stock has fallen all the way back to the price it had last Wednesday. And last Wednesday, that was a pretty big run up from the weeks prior. I, as an executive, can't pay much attention to the short-term movements. I got to be thinking about the value 5 years from now or 10 years from now. But I think especially in this market, because there's a lot going on, there's a lot for people to factor in, and there's a lot of unusual volatility. I think
now, in withdrawing the billings forecast, you've said that the second half of the year is just too complex. What clues do you have about what the second half of the year will actually look like?
Well, we do know that there's going to be a significant tailwind. So we added 12,000 net new paid customers last quarter. So that compares to 5,000 the quarter prior, or 5,000 the quarter prior to that. We added 90,000 new organizations using Slack, and that's more than we did in the entirety of last year. So that will pay off for us. What we don't know is the strength of the headwinds that we're going to see. The businesses that were most acutely affected by the crisis have already felt that. I think to large measure, there's no airlines who are only now figuring out that business is down. What we don't know is the trickle-down effects or the knock-on effects for the rest of the economy. Today's job numbers, good. There's still many people unemployed. There's still kind of a lot of people whose stimulus checks and or unemployment is going to run out really soon. And I don't think we have any good idea of what the world looks like in September, October, November. And so balancing that tailwind and that headwind is a little tough for us.
As you alluded to, the return to work will be slow. The return to school will be slow. I have no idea when my kids are going back to school, when we're going back into the office. That said, it will happen. Hopefully there's a vaccine. When you're looking farther ahead, longer term, do you see a point where Slack's growth potentially slows dramatically, plateaus, or even drops as we go back to whatever new normal is?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we had 100,000 plus customers before this crisis hit. All of those people, or most of those people, were working in offices and absolutely found the benefit of Slack, decided to pay for it. And I think this is so hard to tell at this point, but if people head back to offices en masse, they will still retain their Slack usage because they're still going to get the same advantage that our customers have traditionally had. So I don't think there's any real relationship there. Slack does improve your ability to communicate, align internally, and I think that's one of the challenges from of distributed work. So it helps there, but it's not specifically designed for that in any way. And I think what we have seen here, because this was so disruptive, because it was so dislocated, and 0% of CEOs across this country would have said that they would be able to have their whole company working from home inside of a week. And when you got to do it, it becomes possible. That's going to be cause so many downstream changes that we think that this shift in the way that people are working is actually generational. So it's like the original wave of IT in the 60s and 70s. It's like the adoption of email in the 90s and 2000s. And we're just at the beginning of seeing how that plays out.
So how are you thinking about reopening offices right now? I know you said September. Is that still the case? Could it be later? Are you thinking about potentially letting employees work from home forever, like Jack Dorsey?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of complexity there, but I can't imagine going back to normal. I think we'll absolutely have a much higher percentage of people working remotely. What we've seen the demand for is actually kind of interesting. What people want is flexibility. So I like coming into the office sometimes. I don't love my commute, so I want to be able to come in 2 days a week, or maybe we get together for on-sites or planning sessions to kind of come up with a plan. And then when we have just work to do, we stay home. It's too soon to know how that will work. What we said was they're definitely not going to open before September. And I think we're likely to extend that further. I can't imagine opening offices on a very limited basis for those employees who would prefer to work there just because they're going crazy inside their house, or they don't really have the facilities in their home. But going back to normal, I don't know if we ever will, and certainly it's not going to be soon.
Now, you are incredibly active on social media, active on social justice. I have to get your thoughts on this Twitter versus Facebook call, the call that Twitter made about the president's tweet suggesting looters be shot, and the call that Facebook made or did not make, we should say. Who's going to be on the right side of history there?
I am glad that I don't have to make that choice. And obviously, I have a tendency to be more on the side of Twitter here, but I don't really understand what the long-term ramifications of this are. And while I abhor the speech, I'm not sure what the right response is going to be and what's going to actually be most constructive in making some positive change. Because I think the situation that we're in now is just, it's intolerable, I would say, for every citizen. I don't think anyone's happy with what's happening right now.
Now, you've always been very vocal about these issues, and Slack has put its money where its mouth is. You've created one of the most diverse workforces by comparison in Silicon Valley. Now we're hearing so many companies and CEOs making commitments and saying they're doubling down. Are you worried it's going to be more words than action, and how do we hold them accountable?
I think, going off script a little bit here, but I saw someone screenshot a response from Hulu, and Hulu had done their Black Lives Matter tweet or Facebook post, and the person who responded, well, you lost me as a customer, and I got 50 of my friends, and we're all leaving you. And the response was, thanks for the update from the Klan meeting. And the reason I think that's important is because it sends a strong signal that is just an intolerable opinion. To be, you can't argue against Black Lives Matter and be a member of civil society. And I don't know that that was the case when the Black Lives Matter entered the lexicon in 2014. So the words do matter to some extent. I do believe that we need to see some serious follow-up actions, and Slack is absolutely no different in that respect. We have plenty of work to do. The way that I think, or that I guess I hope that people are held accountable is through increased transparency, but also just a shift in what we all regard as acceptable, a shift in what we believe is the kind of minimum standard. And as that minimum standard increases, the pressure increases for people to exceed it.